Are you someone who have just stopped playing PSO New Genesis and you are wondering about the brand new content with of course our new side story, our new classes, and all the things that came from it, and you want to know is it worth your time or not to hop back into New Genesis? Today I'm going to be reviewing everything you need to know about this update and decide if this is something you want to jump back into. But before we get into that, I'm going to get a huge thank you to all my Patreon membership and of course Twitch sub that you can find links below if you are wanting to join and get your name listed right here. And while you're at it, don't forget to do the like, favorite, subscribe, hit all the bells below, and with that, let's go ahead and jump into this. So this update as a whole does bring a whole bunch of new stuff into the game. We do have a brand new story content tied to Anna and dealing with some more own, I guess, emotional situation that happened in the base game. Will not be pulling here, but we do get a little bit more insight into all, as well as the biggest thing about this update, which is the introduction of Braver class, which is a brand new class that actually use katana and bow, and with it come some brand new PAs, as well as some brand new weapons going all the way from Weldy 1 up to 4, and then Weldy 4 weapon having a 2 different variant, or 3 in the case of bow, for you to farm and try to get your hands on for your class. But let's go ahead, let's begin that we're talking about Anna and all story as a whole here. This event takes place after you complete the main campaign, which you are looking at, once again, if you haven't already done it, or if you're interested. Took me roughly about 40 hours to complete, but with that, take a grain of salt, since a lot of that time was me just leveling and hunting for items and collecting stuff in the base game. But roughly, probably realistically, you probably could get through that content in like 15 to 20, more than likely. So the content for that does require you to actually go through all the original stuff before you can get into it. The quest itself is not really anything super special to write home about. We do have a few new cutscenes, but for the most part, it mainly you going from point A to point B, hunting down some items, and pretty much getting like a little bit of a backstory of what life was for Widowfather before the Dark Falls incident. Most of that content is very much straightforward, and sadly you can complete it in roughly 15 to 20 minutes or faster, depending on if you want to take part in some of the combat encounter, since there is moments in our story that you can pretty much run past all the enemies if you really want, since there was only like roughly about 2 areas that actually require you to do any type of content beyond going from point A to point B. So that's a little sad, but at the same time is honestly affected here. I wasn't expecting that much out of a storyline, but you know, it's a nice like little bit of background information, and we will see if any of the stuff going to play in later on. Kind of feel like one or two things might come back into play in the story later on as we get more and more update, but we'll have to wait and see for that one. And then as for Braver is concerned, Braver itself is a class that was inside PSO2, now making it return to a New Genesis here. The class itself is actually fairly interesting for the most part, with it being, I get the best way to describe it, it's a little more Glock cannon focus, with your character being able to put out fairly good damage overall, especially with the katana. And the thing is about it, the class does have the ability to use bows as well. And unlike some other classes in the game, well, most of the time you can pick a weapon and stick to it, Braver, on the other hand, seem to be very much in line with switching in between the bow and katana depending on the situation and what type of enemy you are actually fighting here. With that being said, if you're using the katana itself is way more stationary compared to what it was in PSO2. So there would be a lot of pretty much holding your ground and doing parries or a little bit of blocking, as well as linking your combo together, since there is multi-step combos here depending on your rotation or how many times you use the PA will start giving you a decent effects and as well do more damage. So it does have a little bit of depthness still, trying to figure out exactly what PA to use and which one work better with each other. Why actually dealing with dodging and parrying, especially parrying, since Parrying is a very important ability for Blable since you can counterattack with it once you level up some of your skill tree stuff, and easily probably some of the best damage you can do on the class as of now anyway. And then the bow is made up of being way more about long range, like support heal, and also about holding down the PA, because each of the PAs that the bow have, you can of course charge it up to do more damage, and also a little bit of effects on top of it, normal attacks as well. But the main thing you will notice overall about Blable is the class itself is very much consumed with taking a PP off your character, or for anyone who's not aware, pretty much think of it as a stamina bar for the most part. That's technically what PP is, at least in the case of Blable anyway. And you will have a lot of micromanaging having to actually do heal to keep track of your PP, as well as, of course, having a special ability, since every class in PSO New Genesis do have ability that specifically for them. And in the case of Blable, an ability that will actually help you with recovery for PP and try to actually keep it up. Because sadly, just doing normal attack will give you PP back, but it's nowhere near to the same amount that you would get from other classes. So the class itself is very much a stand in the front line and try your best to not take damage with parrying, as well as keeping track of your consumption for your PP. So the class itself can get very interesting if you enjoy that type of stuff. The issue is, if you are a old Blable class or player coming into New Genesis, you might be very disappointed with how much mobility is just now gone from Blable. And Blable really does just feel way more as a stand in your plate and pretty much just attack and parry. And as for the content of leveling up Blable, which is still one of the biggest problems with PSO as a whole right now, but as for the Blable is concerned, the downside to it is, since most of the content that we did get, since we will talk about some of the other stuff we will be getting in-game momentarily, but since Blable can't actually take part in any of that, especially if you are just now starting the class, you are sadly stuck doing the same thing you have already done on your main, or if you're someone who have leveled up all your classes, you will know the routine about leveling, and sadly nothing have changed here. So if you are someone who is burnt out on leveling, the crap Blable doesn't add nearly as much up to make that interesting past the first few levels. So just keep that in mind if you are hoping to come back to Blable and hoping for a new experience for leveling, or just a way to level up the class. Sadly, that haven't changed at all in this update, which is sadly just a little disappointing. But if you're someone who are picking up the game for the fourth time, you should be fine and dandy. But if you're someone who already been burnt out on leveling, just know nothing is changing here with Blable, so be prepared for that. But as for the new item drops with Blable coming in with, of course, a new augment. So we do got a brand new augment that is split up between giving percentages to your melee and range. So this augment that got added is very helpful, especially if you're doing multi-weapons of the type, or you using, well, Blable. The thing is, outside of that, we also have the weapons and the ability 1 through 4. The weapons themselves have been actually, seem like the drop weight for them have been actually adjusted, since the drop weight itself now seems to be a lot lower than past weapon been for some of the other classes. After spending roughly about 15 to 20 hours doing the leveling and doing all the content in this update, I have only got my hands on some ability 4 as of now, a grand total of roughly about 3 times. You might be thinking that is giant, because in the other classes and trying to get them higher a weapon, you usually get them a couple dozen every couple of hours. So in return, farming the items are going to take a lot more time. So if you're someone who enjoys farming, you will, well, you get extremely lucky, you will have your handful there of trying to get your hands on this, which in return, at the time of the review anyway, the equipment that I tied to Blable is of course selling for a lot of money. So this is a good opportunity if you are someone who is trying to farm Maceta and you have the patience to go for the weapons. But the weapons that come in with Blable are not the only weapon coming in this update. We are getting our hands on some more trigger weapons. I'm not sure how exactly you pronounce it. Let me know in the comments. But the weapons that drop from Gigantics. We originally were missing a handful of them, and now they are now inside the game. So if you're someone who have played in the past and disappointed because your weapon of choice wasn't dropping from Gigantic, now you do have the ability to actually get your hands on these, or, you know, just go to the player shop and buy them if you don't want to deal with the grind to get your hands on it. And with that, that is pretty much everything that got added in the update. We do have our brand new Quack ticket. We do have our brand new AC scratch as well. And a brand new free scratch for drawing heal. But the sad thing is about that is a quote with the Quack that is available at the time of that video. There is a little bit of an issue with the drop weights applied to the new items. If you want more information about that, I will have a link to the video above that will go into more detail about that whole situation. But just know, if you are coming in hoping to get you a whole bunch of new items out of that scratch, probably not going to be the most ideal thing, especially for the Star Gem scratch, since it is a little more heavier with older items that we've seen from the original launch scratch inside of SG. A little disappointing though if you are someone who hoping to get your hands on a specific item. So overall, as far as this update coming in and what it brings to the table, and the idea of like, hey, it is enough content to come back and play more PSO NGS if you are someone who stepped away or someone who just haven't experienced this stuff yet. If you're already playing, absolutely dive into this, get your feet wet, see how you enjoy Blable, see if it's for you or not. If you're someone who have ended up not playing the game because of burnt out or content or whatever it might be, sadly this update is not enough of meat there to really offer much to you as far as being, or the possibility of being, a return player. So if you are in that camp, ideally probably still need to just wait around for more content to get added. Without you are fine with the content in this, because with it all being said, like, I roughly got about 20-ish hours of, you know, content out of this. If you're interested in seeing my full playthrough of the content, link once again above, right up there, so you can go watch that whole playthrough if you're interested in seeing it for yourself. Any with the roughly 15 to 20 hours of content, realistically only maybe the full, like, 40 minutes of it is new content. Beyond that, it's just the same old leveling that you already know, love or hate, and item farming that may or may not be annoying depending on your attitude towards farming items. So overall, this update is nice and all, and not anything to super write home about. And hopefully, by the time we get our next class, hopefully we will have more way to level our character outside of running around in the same zones over and over again. But we will have to wait and see for that one. And as of now, we are roughly about a week and a half out from our next big update, which will be the tower defense stuff, which I will cover and let you guys know how that operates, as well as, you know, how-to and education video. So if you're interested in that stuff, make sure you do the thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell, so you don't miss out on any of that stuff. And also check out membership if you are interested in some emotes, some wonderful Luna picture every single day over on the community tab. And if you want to support anything else I'm doing, check out patreon.com/Macon. All links in the description below. And with that, hopefully this has been informative as far as it is something you want to come back to. Personally, I don't think it's enough for returning player, but, you know, eating on this. Nonetheless, it is available right now inside of New Genesis on all platforms globally. So be sure to play if it interests you. And with that, that will go ahead and do it for me. And I will go ahead and see you all in the comments.